Now I think you'll agree with me that 7 lakh rupees is a good chunk of money to have. But you'll also agree that it's not exactly big bucks either. I mean, tens of thousands of people are spending that kind of money every month to buy hatchbacks in the country today. But if I were to say that's the price tag of a motorcycle, it would just seem like so much for so little, unless it happened to be an Italian thoroughbred like this, a Ducati. Well, I finally got my hands on the Asia-specific Monster 795, and we're going to find out whether it can live up to all our expectations, starting off with, does the price cut mean it's any less of a monster? Ducati created a storm in 1993 when they launched the Monster. It was the first of the urban street naked. The Monster became an instant hit. Its minimalist styling and practical everyday usability has made it one of the most successful motorcycles to roll out of Borgo Panigale. And the Monster 795 is from the second generation of the Monster family. One look is enough to assure you that the Monster genetics run true even here. There are no panels. There's just a muscular tank, a stepped floating seat with two massive exhausts stacked next to it. There's an exposed engine hung off a beefy trellis frame, and then there are the meaty tires. But when you compare the 795 to the 796, there are some changes. Notably, the swing arm. The 796 had one of those stylish single-sided units. The 795 instead has a dual-sided swing arm to save up on cost. The tires are skinnier too, and there's no wind deflector at the front. In terms of equipment, Ducati Data Analyzer is not available on the 795. Now I really do miss that single-sided swing arm. It was such a stylish element about the 796, but that's helped save costs, helped bring the price down. But the main factor behind bringing the price down is because the 795 is being assembled in Thailand and then being exported from there to India. And the lower duties have helped slash the price tag of the motorcycle. So when it comes to design, when it comes to materials, this still feels like a proper Ducati Monster. It looks stylish, feels like a quality motorcycle. But Ducati has tailored the motorcycle for Asian riders. Let's see what the changes are. The 795 has been designed for the smaller Asian build. So the chassis is sourced from the smallest bike of the Monster family, the 696. Which means the seat height is lower by 30mm and the handlebars have also been raised by 20mm. So the seating position is a bit more upright, but it's still very sporty. Taller riders might feel that the seat height of the 795 is a bit too low for them, while shorter riders like me would feel quite at home. You can get both feet down on the ground, no problems. The handlebars are a little bit higher, so the posture is a bit more relaxed, but still quite aggressive. But then that's expected. After all, it's got to match the performance, right? Asking whether the Monster is quick is like asking whether Italians like wine. There's no two ways about it. And that's because the 795's motor is the 803cc unit, which was also on the 796. Which means your right wrist commands 87 bhp and waves of torque from the air-cooled L-twin motor. This engine has more than adequate pulling power low down in the rev range, but it gets downright frantic once you hit the 4,500 RPM mark. And before you know it, the revs are knocking on the 8,500 RPM rev limiter. Ducati claims a 0 to 100 time of a little over 4 seconds, and the Monster 795 can easily hold triple-digit speeds all day long. On the daily usage front, the light action of the hydraulic clutch and the slick 6-speed gearbox minimize the hassle of gear changes, especially when driving in city traffic. This is a big boon since the gearing is quite tall, and in the stop-go city traffic, you need to keep pulling the clutch in. The simple rule of keeping the Monster happy is to keep the revs up. The vibe from the motor though is quite apparent on the handlebar. Once again, to maintain a smooth cruising speed out on the highway, you need to find a way around the tall gearing, which is quite simple. That is, you drive one gear lower than normal. Now as a practical big bike to ride around in the city every day, the Monster 795 falls a little bit short, and for the very same reasons as the Monster 796. Basically, the gearing is tall, the engine doesn't feel relaxed at low speeds in the city, it prefers to be kept on the boil, and under 2000 RPM the fueling does feel a bit snatchy. Out on the highway also, it doesn't feel relaxed, it prefers to be ridden a gear down, so in 5th gear for 100 kilometers an hour, that's where it feels the smoothest, but never quite relaxed. You get the vibe from the handlebar. This is an aggressive motorcycle and prefers to be ridden that way. So it's really a good thing that the chassis and the suspension can match up to that. At the core of every Ducati is solid dynamics, and the Monster handles beautifully. The 43mm upside down forks and monoshock at the rear are very sporty. The Monster's ride is on the firm side, but that allows it great high-speed composure and solid cornering prowess. The winding road is always welcome on the Monster's menu. It turns in cleanly and feels very sure-footed. The dual discs at the front have awesome bite, which is great news because the Monster builds speed in a flash. However, to really enjoy the Monster, you should wind things down a couple of notches and let the motorcycle flow through corners instead of attacking them. I also found that the 795's Pirelli Angel tires aren't as grippy as the bigger Pirelli Diablo tires on the 796. Long distances on the Monster are possible too, as long as you're in good physical shape, because the seating position, despite the changes, is quite aggressive and will put a strain on your wrists and lower back. In the cities, the Monster's limited range of steering movement will mean snipping through traffic will be a bit under check. However, I was surprised that the ride quality was quite good. Even though it is sporty and firm, it took potholes and rough roads in its stride. Sharp edges though tended to thunk through. After spending much time with the Monster, I was a bit disappointed with some of its shortcomings. But overall, I couldn't help but be excited by the experience. The Monster 795's solid handling prowess, its blazing performance, and well, its very Italian styling make it a motorcycle that's hugely impressive and deeply addictive. I mean, there are some brownie points that are going to be taken away from the motorcycle because at its core, it's an urban motorcycle, but it doesn't acquit itself very well in our cities on that front. I mean, the engine feels a bit lanky and maneuverability is a bit poor. But for most riders out there who dreamt of owning a Ducati, these might seem like trifling matters that really won't get in the way of living the dream of owning a Ducati, and especially not at this price.